Hi, and welcome to today's video. My name is Chris Capitura. I'm here with Dr. Sharief Ibrahim, and we're on part 2 of our intermittent fasting videos. This one here, we're going to be focusing on the intervals for intermittent fasting. There are a variety of them. We're going to talk about some of the more common interval periods or patterns that people will follow, and then we'll talk a little bit about the food. So, Sharief, let's focus first on the different intervals, the more common ones or patterns that are available.
Yeah, I think this is really very important because most of people actually they understand by intermittent fasting if there is time for fasting and time for not fasting for eating. They are technically call it time restricted feeding. The most common pattern is a 16-8. That means 16 hours fasting and 8 hours of eating window. But you can vary the hours. Actually, you can go for 18-6 or even coming down to 12-12. These are also some common practices. There is another pattern which is 1 meal a day. This is probably more realistic because this is what our ancestors did in the past. They eat 1 meal a day. And then there is alternate day fasting, means you eat normal for 1 day and then you fast the other day, or you eat less than 500 calories. But if we come back to the most popular pattern, which is 16-8, you're going to have a little bit late breakfast at 10, and you finish your dinner by 6 o'clock in the evening. So from 10 to 6, these are 8 hours feeding window, and then you do 16 hours of fasting. People, they skip the breakfast and go for an early lunch at 12, and then they have a second meal around about 8 o'clock at night. I'm not really comfortable with this one because if you want to sleep early, then it might really interfere with your sleep. So I think the first pattern is probably much better. There are some tricks which actually people could really play, actually, to stay patient and wait until the time come for their feeding window. One of the patterns which I use for myself and with my patients is, for example, you place and you program a very important work or enjoy some sports between 9 and 10.
I have to say, Sharief, I love that technique of the 5-2, where it's been the weekend that I've enjoyed, but Monday, Tuesday of the week, the start of the week, it's very light. It's under 500 calories. I'm usually salads, especially if it's been a very festive weekend and there's been a lot of food consumed. And I really feel so recharged by day 2, which many people will think the opposite, that if I'm not putting fuel into my body, I'm going to be depleted. By the end of fasting, I'm going to be exhausted. But it's the exact opposite. I was reading through your blog, and I agree with you. After fasting, the energy is there. You feel a lot more clarity, and all these components that people would think conversely about are actually benefits of fasting itself.
Yeah, it's a very, very good idea. The most important thing people practice is that they are not really much concerned about what. They are only concerned about when. So when they eat, but not about what they eat. What they eat is also very important. For example, somebody who intermittent fast, and by the time they come to eat, then they go for the wrong food, a very high calorie food of sugar and carbs. Instead of helping them, actually is going to be harmful, actually. Why? Because every time they eat, they are refilling their sugar stores, because sugar is stored as glycogen in the body. And this glycogen, actually, when you fast, you are consuming stored sugar, and that is going to lower the insulin level, and that is going to allow the body to burn fat. But if you are filling these sugar stores every day, then you are not really gaining any benefit. And indeed, actually, some people actually might even gain weight by this sort of practice because they are so hungry. By the time they eat, they have got a lot of cravings, and then they just go for the wrong food, and that is not a good. Another common practice, some people would say, okay, I'm going to intermittent fast, but I will go for something like Atkins diet, a diet which is high in protein. And that is also wrong because the body has got no way to store proteins. And what will happen if you take too much proteins? The body will take whatever is required and for whatever activities is needed, but the excess proteins, the body is going to break down and make sugar out of it. So it's going to increase your blood sugar and it's going to increase your insulin. And so it's going to stop you from gaining any benefit from intermittent fasting. So the most sensible thing to do actually is to go for high fiber diet. High fiber diet is real food like vegetables, beans, nuts, and seeds. This contains very high fiber, and the high fiber is helpful because it slows down the absorption of sugar and fat. So you are not getting too much sugar absorbed to raise the blood sugar. You are not having sugar spikes because sugar spikes actually put your insulin up and end up in sugar crashes. Then this sugar crash makes people more hungry and craving, and they want to eat high carb. It would also good if people would go for healthy fat. And healthy fat is like avocado, olive oil, coconut oil. Olive itself actually is also healthy fat. Or you can go for seeds and nuts and a small oily fish, which is really rich in healthy fat. That is going to be very helpful because that will help the body to go early for burning fat because there is not too much sugar around and there is much fat, and then the body will go straight and burn fat. The best formula is how you fill the calorie gap by increasing the fat intake. And I'm talking about really healthy fat intake. And the best formula is 65% fat, 25% protein, which is moderate protein, not too high protein, and 10% carbs. If you want to push a little bit more, then the best thing to do is to exercise while you are intermittent fasting, because that is going to put you into ketosis. This is the stage where the body go into something called autophagy, where the body will start repairing and rejuvenating and renewing itself.
So going back to what I had mentioned earlier, the salad is a great idea because in that salad, you can put the avocado, you can put seeds, hemp hearts, chickpeas. There's all kinds of great opportunities. And it goes all with what Sharief's talking about, the good fats and keeping low carb. Thanks everyone for listening and watching today's video. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care. Sharief and I appreciate you liking this video, and more importantly, remember to subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of content that we're going to be creating, and we don't want you to miss a single second of it.